Good morning, Nigerians, our team and viewers out there. Welcome to Nationalism and You. We stay on your flagship program this morning on ITV. Certainly the best and indeed your station of choice. And we want to say thank you for always keeping faith with us. We are here on the first segment of discourse. And we will be taking a look at the topic, perspectives on women participation in politics. And to handle this topic with me is Lady Colette Mbamalu. Lady Colette Mbamalu is the founder of Tomorrow African Mind. I wonder what that meant. But very good. Now, Lady Colette, nationalism and you.
Oh yes, it is my duty and right to build my nation, of which no sacrifice is too great.
Beautiful. That is the message. And I normally tell people in this program, if you are out there watching us, put your hand on your chest. The blame game should be over. It is our duty and our responsibility to build this nation. Good. Perspective on women's participation in politics. This is the 22 years of our democracy. In those days we used to say nascent democracy, nascent. It is no longer nascent, it is advancing. What has been the level, the degrees of women participation?
Well, women have come a long way, and it's not yet, they are not yet at a par or at a balanced ratio or ration with the men. But I still want to give thumbs up to the ones who also have made it to the top, while we analyze the imbalance, the existing imbalance. It's actually too obvious. It's not hidden. I mean, considering the statistics of play of the game, you find currently about 7 women out of 102 in the Senate, and then you have about 22 women out of 360 men in the House of Reps. I don't know who is too blind to know that the imbalance is too obvious to take home.
You know, there was this Beijing conference where they talked about 30% affirmative actions for women participation. What has the women themselves doing to enhance securing even this 30%? Because they're supposed not to be even aiming at 30%. They're supposed to be aiming at 50%, if possible 60%.
Exactly.
So
30% shouldn't be a privilege, but it's now considered as a privilege. They should actually aim at taking power and not wait to be given power. And to achieve that, it's a whole lot of planning go into that. Leadership on its own is people, and the process to get to leadership, 30% or not 30%, is politics. What is politics? Numbers, people. So if our women have not come to understand that these things are not privileges, there shouldn't be offered to you, they're not favors. There are things you plan ahead of. There are things you go for. There are strategies, just like your male counterpart. I mean, power has no gender face. So if the Beijing even gave 30% to them, they should be crying. Exactly. So, except if we, I wouldn't say we're not, we're oblivious of the situation in the society, the things militating women's participation in politics. But
I was going to come to that, but before we proceed on that,
okay.
let me bring some reminder to you.
Okay.
In this same country, we had a history of Olufunmilayo Ransom Kuti leading a political front. She was noted not because she is appointed or invited to be. We had a beautiful history of Margaret Epu. All of these are women mobilizer. What has gone wrong that our women cannot strategically mobilize themselves for participation?
Times change, and when times change, people change with it. I believe that if we as women follow the tracks of such women, if we haven't lost what brought such women out, which I was trying to point out, planning. They had the power of mobilization. They understand the strategies of power. They are not one of the, people going for favors. They knew that power has roots, and they came from those roots. Most of our women today just wake up and want to get into power. They have no strategic plans. They didn't even build from behind. The women you mentioned are women who have sacrifices that they made and finally got to the peak where we could recognize them. The women of today have politics as a second interest, if not third, if at all. So it begins with interest. If we don't have interest, or you just wake up one day and you suddenly have interest in power, you're going to have to build from behind. You don't start from the top. Our women develop interest and want to grab power, or for it to be given to them. So some of them settle for appointments and they don't go to be elected. They don't have a lot of other factors. I noticed you don't want me to mention them because I don't want to give a blind side to that, because stereotypes go a long way in militating why women don't stand in there for power.
I want you to itemize, what do you consider the major factors that are inhibiting women's participation?
Okay. I'll start with stereotypes. Gender stereotypes. Gender mainstreaming is one factor that has cut across sectors beyond power, beyond governance. And if you check or consider mainstreaming gender, it will go a long way to pull out those factors, social, religious factors, and the funding aspect. That's a whole lot on its own. Most of our women are not that enlightened, are not that educated, or haven't got the height of orientation that would separate them or sever them from the stigma that come with a woman vying for power. So issues about religion, we have certain parts of the country where it's almost prohibited for a woman to go out, all out for power. We have sects rather, and the social angle. You have certain unpaid jobs, or even the media, who portray women as powerless or objectified as people who shouldn't even think of power. So all these, and we know that the society is the mind of the people. That factor alone can make a woman not develop interest in power, or even if they do, they have not got the right education to understand what it means to take power and to stand all out for it. So you look at funding, most women haven't even done so well in business, and access to funding is a whole lot. So if you find out that a woman who has been given a picture of a homemaker, okay, she has responsibilities at home, and everything about power is out there, external, Number two, the timings of the meetings, the processes she has to go through. So you find a lot of sentiments cutting across. You find even attacks of fellow women. She may not even be that coordinated or supported by her fellow women. You find certain times the media doesn't project women so well. The violence, the hate speeches that go against women who even try, that alone is enough message to discourage the upcoming women or whoever that even has interest in power. So I think the media has a lot to do in reorientation to make the public know that a woman going for power does not make her less a woman, and it is not the power doesn't have a gender face. It's neutral. It's for anyone who can actually go for it. So every single woman must have that level of education. For the times I've spoken on some platforms, I let them know that power is neutral. Power belongs to God. Now the process to get to power is politics, and it's for everybody. The opportunity is open to man and woman. And before I forget, most times even the men too don't expect a woman to vie for power. So they rather, yes, they rather that she settles in for, like crumbs, you know, like a master who is eating and then gives crumbs to.
When you mean men don't expect women to vie for power, do you mean men in politics or their husband at home?
Oh. I'm actually going to even point both ends.
Okay.
They come from different ends. The husband of a woman going for power is, if he's not the kind who knows that power has no gender face, he's going to pull that woman out. He will not even take his wife going to evenings or nights for meetings or having to tussle power amongst his fellow men and all that. So those dangers, he could be doing that out of protection, and sometimes they also do that out of intimidation. And then the other angle is men in politics. Come on, it's like when two elephants are fighting, they don't even want to know that the grasses are existing. That's it. So you as the woman, if you are the grass there, they're going to match you out like you don't exist. But if we understand that that the power, I keep mentioning, the power has no gender face, then when you see a woman in power or vying for power, you will not classify her with such narrow index as gender. The international communities do not recognize all that. But even when they make laws for gender-related concerns, it is not in the in this inequality or unstable or imbalanced state. No. Recently, was it last year? No, this year, early this year, they removed gender as an index, and everyone is shouting. I saw the good part of it. It's to remove narrow-mindedness in classifying what or certain level or acquisitions, whether it's power or whatsoever it is that someone can have, and you go and attach gender to it to be a definitive factor why you should have or shouldn't have something. So if we bring that down here, while I still want us to be sensitive to our gender, is because our society has not favored women. That's the only reason. But if we advance, or as we advance as a society, maybe some of these factors and this 30% issue will just fall off, because everyone comes to the game and competence becomes the level, the playing ground. It's no longer gender.
Statistically, people talk about women being much more in numbers than men. And politics is a game of number. Do you think there have been a correlative, a correlation between the numbers, the population of women, the demographic, the women demographic, specifications, and their participation in politics? How have the women themselves support themselves to crystallize this?
Wonderful. The pipe, the pipe that carry power is competence. The pipe that carry power is planning. If in that pipe women understand planning and competence, that pipe will carry them upwards. It won't even be aware of the gender. So the pipeline is competence, strategic planning, irrespective of the number. The population of, if you have a population of fools or illiterates or stigmatized population, you're not going to have much of them in the pipe. That's the truth. So if the men are the ones who are that strategic in planning, who are much more educated, liberated in their minds, the pipe is going to carry them up more. And amazingly, because politics is number, much more of the unliberated minds, they are going to be the force that will push the content, the people who need to be up there in the power through the pipe. So if we educate more women who are larger, who form the larger population, if the set or the whole set that has more women who are educated, will have more women organizations, more mobilization of women who will go through the same pipe of power. That's the point. So it's not it's first a game of numbers. Politics is a game of numbers, yes, but then the content, what is the composition of the people who are more in numbers? If their composition is low compared to that of men who are considered lower, right? If their composition is lower, you will still have more of the men in the pipeline. So it's beyond game of numbers, women being more in the population. If they don't have anything to present at the table, they're still going to be.
If you are asked to advise our women to transcend what you call stigmatization and the cultural inhibitions, what would be your advice to them?
To transcend that, I would say women must get a level of orientation. To transcend stigmatization, it begins with your level of education, your exposure. To transcend, those are social concerns. To transcend stereotypes, you need a different form of information to understand that your decision is what decides your destination. If your decision can thrive beyond stereotypes, can thrive beyond stigmatization, you are up there. And where do decisions come from? Orientation. It comes from information. It comes from exposure. It comes from your own personal vision, interest. Most of our women don't have any of this. And some who do are suffering external factors, which now still pull them down, back down to zero or halfway, or they just settle for appointments.
You know, in many African countries, even in Asian countries, women have ascended easily to power. And we said, we share a lot of culture with the Asian people, which means the kind of cultural inhibitions we are experiencing here could also be experienced there, and things of that nature. So, when are we looking forward to seeing, for example, in Liberia, now in Tanzania, we have women president. So, when are we expecting to have one in Nigeria? Do they have that conviction to put themselves forward?
It's all
conviction?
it's all what time will deliver. Over time, people evolve. We believe that our women would one day evolve to know that power belongs to all. That evolution comes from education. That evolution comes from information. So I'll still point back to the media. The picture of the woman they paint go a long way to form a mindset around the woman. The Asians who did it, their own civilization is different from ours. Their society is different from ours. Their industrialization is different from ours. So it's all about evolution, how nations evolve. Ours may be slower, and ours could also have other undertones, that decide the environment, the political environment, and what you have, the outcomes. So I wouldn't even want to do that comparative.
You personally, do you have a conviction that more women in politics can crystallize a better national development?
I'm not biased when it comes to gender, actually.
No, because when I was a staff of Federal Ministry of Education, we had a saying: educate the nation,
educate the woman.
Educate the woman, then you educate the nation, and things of that nature. How do we bring this to politics?
Well, you see, I was trying to mention that in politics, it's beyond just education. You can have all the education, but if you do not have strategic planning, if you have so much competence, that's delivery. But the process to get to where you can do all your delivery, to get to the seat, that's even another weightier matter, right? So educating the woman is one thing, but the political education, giving education concerning politics to women, I don't think I know of any organization doing that. When they say women empowerment, it's all about what's it called?
How to make money.
How to make money, and so they are not schooled through the processes, the pathways that you have to start from your ward. What have you been doing at the ward level? Local government, state. They are not as strategic as the men. If we can pick just that aspect, then let's now leave the rest to the existing corruption that also happens. But at least have this aspect tight. That's one thing that most of our women don't have.
You see, like you said, the 30% affirmative action is even sounding obsolete now, because nobody is even talking about it and things of that nature. So what will be your message to Nigerian women in the fact that, taking into consideration the fact that 22 years of our democracy, there seems not to have been a dynamic progressive movement of women into politics?
I think the major message I always have for women is that being a woman is beyond home, beyond your having children, having a husband. Being a woman is everything about the society. So when they made that saying or that phrase, educate a woman and build a nation, it's beyond home. So I'll advise more sensitization, more in women groups, women clubs, more information, education to our women beyond your career, beyond home, beyond marriages, is to understand that you, the woman, you are the society. And if you are the society, it goes beyond giving birth to children. Yes, if you're the society, it has a whole lot to do with influence. And to have influence, you need power. That's it.
Thank you very much. We have been talking with Colette Mbamalu, the president and founder, Tomorrow African Mind. You are welcome to Nationalism and we hope you will help us to keep on spreading the message out there that this country is the only country we can call ours, and we do everything to build it. And we hope when we have the privilege to beckon on you to come and attend to us, you will gladly do so.
Very well. Thank you so much, sir.
It's a pleasure having you on our
always
station.
Always mine. I am glad to be here today.
Don't go away and don't change the channel. We are still here. We hope our second guest would have been around by now, when we will be looking at that topic. Good citizenship, the making of a good citizenship and good leadership. Don't change the channel. We're still here on ITV this morning. You are welcome to your darling station, ITV, and certainly we are the best.
Yes,
We're still here on the program Nationalism and with our guest, call it Mbamalu. You are welcome back.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you.
we're going to be taking a look at citizenship and leadership, the making of a good citizenship and good leadership. How would you define a good citizen?
Well, unlike what most of us generally know, that being a citizen is about birth, where you're giving birth to, in which country and all that. Being a citizen is more of ownership, owning your nation, knowing that your nation is you and you are your nation. It's a place of understanding oneness with your nation, that if your nation is not existing, you're not existing. So that goes beyond birth and how long you've lived in a place. It's more an internal attribute, an inside knowing that this place belongs to you. It's about belonging. It's about ownership, like I said.
You know, many people understand right and privilege. What should be the duty and responsibilities of a nation? Because I think right without responsibility and duty is vague.
It's a give and take, actually. Understanding citizenship is in tandem with understanding nationalism. What your country will do for you and what you do for your country, like you said, rights and privileges. If we understand that citizenship is ownership to nationalism, I mean ownership to your nation, you will understand, like a family, like your family, individual family. We know the cell is the smallest unit of life, and the family too is the smallest unit of the society, of the nation. Understanding it that way would place you on the position of giving, knowing that you owe your family this, you owe your nation one or two attributes: contribution, sharing, and on the reverse, your nation owe you a whole lot. It's symbiotic.
We have just we are not through with being good citizenship. Then we talk about good leadership.
Okay.
Good leadership. How would you define? What factors will you look for in good leaders?
Actually, a good leader is not vague. It doesn't drop from the sky. Good leaders are made from good citizenship. the stone that goes up was once down, and the leader or the leadership per se, it's not from, like I said, it doesn't fall from the sky. The leader was once its citizen, was once
emerging from the people.
Exactly, was once amongst the people. So he's one who is selected from amongst the people to represent the people. So if the pool of the citizens of the people is bad, the leader will be bad. So it's not a time of blaming or pointing fingers at the leader because the person is now emerged. So if we handle the citizenry, the leaders will turn out good, because that's the pool where you fetch from. The leader is just a cup. You fetch from the main source, from a whole sea of persons. You use a cup and fetch from. What's the difference between the water in the cup and the water in the sea? It's the same water. So if we understand that, we will not separate leadership from citizenship. There is no separation to it.
Then, in line with your analogy, knowing that family is a unit of society and a country, how would you advise the cultivation or the making of a good citizen?
From the family sector, that would go a long way to address parenting. That will also address socialism. The family is the first stage of socialization, or first agent of socialization. And to address leadership concerns from the family level, it goes a long way to pull out what values form a family. What are the upholding attributes, standards, mindset ruling that class of family? That is the same source you fetch leadership from. It's just something that time delivers. Time actually doesn't change anything. What you are is what you will deliver over time. So if we look at the family as the source of socialization and the source where leadership is hewn from, where we pick our leaders, then the whole orientation, the whole challenges, expectation or responsibilities will fall on parenting. It will fall on how we view family. We will see family as like the Chinese industrialized family. So industries, the families are seen as industries. In that way, you know what you should be feeding the members of the family, because they are the ones to form the industries. So if we look at our family system as our leadership pool, we will change the feeding, we will change the education, the forms of education we give to the family, whether you are a boy or a girl. We will change even the package or the platform given to family. In the education sector, let me pick that. We don't understand that educating a family or the parenting style that each family adopts is the major factor that produces the citizen who becomes the leader tomorrow. When we do not segregate parenting from leadership, when we don't put out that dividing line to parenting and leadership, we will bring about unity, oneness of purpose, knowing that this is a mirror of leadership, that the family mirrors what we have in leadership. So there's no separation. That's why I said earlier that citizenship is about belonging, it's about ownership. So if you have owned your nation from the family level, it's a given. It's just a matter of time.
So good citizens become a given. Now, variably, how can good citizens
Yes.
be instrumental to the making of a good leadership?
How can a good
The
citizen?
good citizens, how can good citizens be instrumental to emergence of good leadership?
It still falls down to orientation. I keep pointing at orientation because a man is his mindset. So a man who has poor orientation in understanding citizenship will not even know the qualities of a leader. They will end up subjecting their choices of a good leader to ephemeral qualities, things that don't actually spell out of a good leader. Let me be more direct. You see, most of our citizens choose their leaders on the basis of tribe. Some of them choose even on gender basis. Some of them choose on economic factors, maybe who is affluent and who is not. Those factors are not tenets that define who a good leader is. It's like going out to go and marry a wife, and you are looking at a beautiful woman, and then you are looking at whether she's coming from a rich home. You see, those are the same factors. But you see, in leadership sector, it's the same thing. You're looking at physical things. You're looking at financial stability of the person, and then when it comes to marrying a wife, you're checking the same factor. So it tells you that this is a mirror of this. It's just that this is on a larger scale. The leadership angle is on a larger scale, and where the family one is on a lower scale. But it's still the same factors. So wrong citizenship will base their criteria for picking the right leaders from the wrong factors, wrong index, very narrow index that actually do not deliver leadership at the long run.
Talking about good leadership, is it possible for leadership to inspire good citizenship?
Definitely, leadership can.
How?
If they use the right factors or platforms. A leader is one who gets the people to their destination, because leadership is all about people. Leadership is more about the people than you, the leader. So to inspire good citizenship is first being an example to the people you are taking to a destination. A man who doesn't know the way can take no man nowhere. It's like the blind leading the blind. So what it takes for a leader to inform good citizenship is purely living by the examples. But we find here the makers of the laws are the breakers of the law. So we are more like talkers. We're not doers of the law. I heard you say something about the majority say their
the majority having their
way,
the
minority have their say. So the majority who have their way are those in power. So they get away with whatever they decide to do. While the minority are busy speaking up their minds, they are not considered. So the point about good leadership, informing good citizenship, is you, the leader, understanding why you are there in the first place. It's not because you are the most perfect person or the most qualified, but if we have chosen you to represent us, then you have become our mirror. And if you have become our mirror, you cannot be a breaker of the law. If you're breaking the law, we'll break it with you.
So what are some identifiable virtues that a leader should possess?
A leader should be someone
that can enhance their good leadership.
Okay, is someone who sees beyond self-gratification. someone who is not segmented in their thinking and apportioning power or amenities or support, someone who is not divisive, maybe tribal or ethnic in any way, or who is not religious in his approach in handling concerns. So it's more of understanding the people, understanding that the platform is to serve. So a leader is first a servant. A leader is someone who understands that the vision, the destination is more at stake, is more important than whatever selfish ambitions I have. A leader will also inform the citizenry through his attributes of trust of the office. If a leader lacks trust, the people will not go headlong as much as they should. When you see a man who is willing to die for a cause, that's the man people want to follow. People want to know that you are first dead before they can die. So if your interest is not to die, people will not go headlong with you. It's the same thing you find in the football pitch. When people understand that they say the back of the t-shirt is more important. Sorry, the front of the t-shirt is more important than the back, meaning that your name at the back is not what we are interested in. It's the team. So if the leader understands that the team, the nation, is more important than himself, his name, his ambition, that's the one people will follow. But when people start seeing some drifts of selfish or tribal or religious divides or biases, which we find around in our nation, you're going to have more segmentation from the people, because a whole lot depends on who the leader is. A whole lot of the destination and arriving the destination depends on the leader. He's the one who shines the light. So if his light has an issue, the citizenry are going to have issue too.
Very, 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 very well. Feedback mechanism.
Okay.
Feedback mechanism between citizens and leadership. How does this enhance good leadership?
If you have not...
How do a leader caution himself to generate feedback?
If you have not followed before, you will not know how to lead. If you have not been with the people, you cannot be ahead of the people. You must first understand the story of the people you are to lead for you to lead them. You cannot tell a story of the people you have not intermingled with, of a people you have not understood. The same thing applies to leadership. The leader was once a follower. So if he understands that the voice of the people matter, if he understands that communication from top down and down up is key to achieving success, to achieving a mission, doors will be opened to feedbacks. And we will not have much protocols to achieving that, because sometimes when the protocol is so long, you find out that feedback is interjected. There could be reasons why someone in the society or someone maybe in the local government find it so hard to communicate with the governor, because the feedback has so much protocols before you can get to your governor, a lot of delays, and probably sometimes even if it gets there, there's still no return to show that, okay, there was a public hearing, okay, we understand your grievances, okay, we can hear you. Every single person wants to be heard. So if a leader has not established that protocol or feedback mechanism, he's going to be like a man taking a walk on his own. Why did I say so? With all his vision, no one is following because there's no feedback. Feedback ensures followership. Now, for a leader who actually intends, because it's first an intention, do you really want feedbacks from your people, or do you want autocracy? Or it depends on what kind of governance or leadership do you want to establish with your people. So you see, it still falls back on the leader. So to enhance that in a leader is for him to come to understand that his leading is dependent on the followership of his people. If not, he is just a man taking a walk.
Democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Beautiful.
Which presupposes that there must always be the intermingle between the leaders and the led. How much of that do we have in our democracy?
Mugabe will always say freedom of information is granted with freedom after you have had your say. Is not guaranteed. In democracy, we are trying, the media is trying, it's giving voice to the people. The social media has gone a long way. You know, people are talking right now. To some degree, I think we still can't place our fingers to the outcome of all the talking. If all we have achieved is the voice, everybody's hearing your voice, everybody's now talking, everybody's airing their views. Yes, it's going to agitate the system, but the outcome is what we're interested in. What's the outcome of all the talk? What's the progress? What's the next step? What's the next level? After all said and done, what else? What's the next? That's where we are even at. But if we have achieved freedom of speech, which was never there before now, I think that's a step that time has delivered to us. Our perspective, we believe that over time it will go beyond freedom of speech to real action, real feedback, you know, if we truly are running democracy. Like you said, is a developing child. Now,
good leadership, good citizenship, we're going to take it in another perspective.
Okay.
Now, Nigeria as a nation is verily challenged right now. We have security challenges, we have socio-economic challenges, and things of that nature. I said, the word she, her, is always used for a nation, which means a nation is a woman, a mother. If your mother is threatened by sickness and bedridden, would you demand for one hand of the mother to be removed and give to you, one leg to be removed and give to you, or you will passionately? So, what is the role of citizens in what should be character, behavior of a citizen in a challenged country as we have today?
I always like to take these national concerns down to the family level to personalize it more, because we tend to understand ownership at a family level more than on a national level. If your mother is sick, you do not objectify your mother. You see your mother with emotions. You connect with your mother. That's not a situation or a time when you want her to give to you. That is a time you want to give to your mother. That's the time you want to give attention, time. Give her space. Give her peace. Give her support. Give her even words that speak to her mind. Palliative. I borrowed that our general word, you know.
Palliative.
Exactly, sir. You know, because your aim is not you. Your aim now is your mother. Bring that to a larger scale, the nation. most Nigerians are agitating, oh, we want to divide, we want to divide. That's because they are objectifying the nation. They have not seen the nation as a mother. They have not seen Nigeria as their own, as family. They have not internalized the personality called Nigeria. They simply objectified it. And if it's an object, then it is divisible. If it's an object, it can be handled without emotions. If it's an object, nobody is going to add any humanity in dealing with it. You can kick it up, kick it off. So there's no humanity connected to your dealings, your approach to it. So you will only treat it as a non-living. Yet the same Nigeria is the birth canal for every single one of us. So it's actually a reorientation issue for us to see Nigeria as family. When we can achieve that in orientation, in education, we will be looking more at giving than taking. The phrase comes to bear, what will I do for my nation, not what my nation will do for me.
Have you ever heard the word describing a nation as sheep of nation, sheep of a nation? Have you ever heard the word?
Sheep of a nation.
Now draw it down, still on our challenges as a nation. A sheep is a configure, maybe a larger boat, navigating in a sea. If a sea becomes turbulent, violent against the ship, what should be the character of the captain and the people in this? Should they be fighting themselves to tear the ship?
That's it.
So take it from there. Ship of a nation,
exactly.
Navigating through turbulences.
Beautiful. That's why I like watching certain movies. It brings to bear reality. You know, if we have not understood that Nigeria is the ship, we will be fighting the wrong fight, and we'll be fighting the wrong enemy, and we'll be fighting with the wrong weapon. Now, for a ship that is experiencing turbulence, I bring in the Hollywood actor. What's his name? I can't remember his name. He is actually the captain, usually acting as the captain of the ship. Whenever a ship is experiencing turbulence, the turbulence is the enemy, not the people in the ship, not the ship, not yourselves, not the captain. If we have lost sight of the real enemy, we'll be fighting the wrong battle. And wrong battle means you're fighting also with the wrong weapon. Nigeria as the ship is the one who is bearing every one of us. Is the channel, is the like the rocket, is a conveying tool, is the motor that will take us to a destination, because there's a destination.
There's a destination.
Now, if we have not understood the position of Nigeria as the carrier of people, of destinies, of a vision, of a mission to a destination, we will be talking about breaking the ship. And when we break the ship, what will happen? We will sink inside the turbulence. Every one of us. every one of us will sink in. So most Nigerians have not come to understand that. And that's because we separate ourselves from Nigeria. So you find someone who is thinking, myself, my tribe. You're not thinking of the whole ship. And that's on tribal level. Then you see someone else who is thinking of, okay, we are the ones leading us, we are just the followers, we are the masses. So you have created another divide. So you've not even understood that leadership is you, that Nigeria is you, that nationalism is you. So a lot of divides is the reason why we fight the wrong enemy, why we fight with the wrong weapon. So the call to action in that ship, in the midst of turbulence, we are not negating the turbulence. We're not oblivious of it. We're not even denying the turbulence. We are only saying that the weapon to handle the turbulence, which is the real enemy, is love, is unity, is understanding, is purpose, is contribution. Because you will find the captain screaming, hey, hold here, hold this rope, hold this, you know. So the concern, in fact, the focus is not even on the turbulence. It's amongst the people who are being conveyed.
How to ensure safety?
To ensure safety, to ensure networks, that you are not pulling when the other person is dragging, you know. So it's all to get the ship to face away from the turbulence. So it is not to divide the ship. Imagine they divide the ship. How will the ship convey them out of the turbulence? So division is still not the way. We are using the wrong weapon. The major weapon to use to stabilize the ship and get it out of turbulence is love. Is unity. Like I said, it's not even tribalism, because at that point every single person is struggling for one thing: life. And if you're struggling for life, all those narrow indexes don't matter. Tribe, who is leading, or everybody comes to square one, comes to leadership, comes to own the mission, own the vision, which is to get out of the turbulence and not to get out of the ship. What Nigerians are doing, they want to get out of the ship. And if you get out of the ship, you are entering the turbulence. Yes. So most Nigerians want to get out of the ship.
Do people know that when you jump out of the ship, there could be shark?
They are not reasoning that.
And crocodile waiting.
That's the issue. So it's narrow-mindedness. So they need a whole lot of orientation to understand that breaking the ship is not the way out. That the only way out is to stay in the ship and stabilize the ship. The turbulence can actually be continuous, but if the ship is under control by the people, for the people, that's democracy. We can make it. There's way forward. We can make it, but we just have to change the focus. The focus is not to divide the ship, and the focus is not to jump out of the ship. The focus is you, is me. All of us, we are supposed to be the focus, and the only thing that connects every one of us is love.
So, how do we train ourselves individually to key into this description you have made? How do we factor ourselves individually?
Individually, I believe if we have not come to understand selfless lifestyle, service as a call to humanity. Service is one tool that even a master, when he conquers. And when it's coming from lower cadre, from a slave, he still conquers. So either way, from top down or from down up, service rules. And the one who serves is the one who leads. How do you serve? From love. You serve out of love. If you are the one serving, you are the one ruling. So to actually come to that position of focusing on the destination, focusing on stabilizing the ship to get to the destination, every single one of us must develop
rounding up good citizenship, the making of good citizenship and good leadership. What is your message to Nigeria?
To my fellow Nigerians, yes. The same way I advise myself is that service is the way up. Service is love. If you have not served, you have not loved. And if you want to lead, you lead from love. That's it.
You are welcome, Madam Miss College Mbamalu.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful having you on Nationalism and You.
Thank you,
And we
sir.
look forward to having you another day.
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure.
We are still on this morning on ITV, your station of choice. Don't change this channel because we still have things going for you. The newspaper review will also come up. So stay tuned.